Well, good morning, everybody. Make sure my sound is up here. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the, is it the 29th? Oh my God, it's the 29th day of January 2020. So, oh, cool. So we have a 1 for the month, which is new beginnings. We have an 11 energy for today, uh, and a 22 for the year. So, wow, lots of illumination today in this cosmic builder year. You know, sometimes all you could just do is sit and marvel at the numerology for the day and see where it's going to take you. I need to get my correct screen up here, which I did not do. There we go. Had my astrology up for what I was looking at for here. I did it as of 9 o'clock this morning, so it's about 9:30 now. Let's see, let's get to the right page here. So most planets are still in the Eastern Quadrant, although they're spread out a little more between the first and the fourth, right? Or the Eastern Hemisphere, rather, but they're spread out between the first and the fourth quadrant. And so you're going to have issues of self-reflection and issues of relationship, but at the same time, your will is going to be exerting itself from the first house because that's really about the self and how you present yourself and all of that to the world, how people see you. The second house is about resources, finances and whatnot, possessions, that kind of thing. So you can kind of see what the general tone is going to be today, just from looking at, where they're all grouped, basically, and you can draw some conclusions from that, and you can get pretty close as to what kind of issues you're going to have during the day. But basically, nothing in the third house, at least not at this moment. So communication's not going to be going on, or well, communication will be going on. There's nothing really with respect to that, although there's some issues with Mercury here and the North Node, but we'll get into that. Moon's in the first house in Aries currently. Again, I did this at 9 o'clock this morning. It's about 9:30 now. New opportunities are possible today. Focus on health and emotional well-being, though. Again, that's part of the first house stuff. A conjunct between Chiron and the Moon today can be a good day for healing. The idea of Chiron being the wounded healer, it's like, wherever your natal, in your natal chart, wherever Chiron is, you're just carved in stone. It's like, no, this is just information. And if you look at where Chiron is in your natal chart, and basically what a transit chart, it's not based on anybody's natal chart. So you could say that each transit chart that we look at is, in a sense, its own natal chart. So, but the idea with Chiron is you look at what the message is of the old wounds and then transmute it into something more positive, the healing of that we need to do, whether it's from childhood or from past wounds or from past lives. It's not meant to keep us in that particular mode. It's just to alert us that there's some, that if you have moments where, you're kind of reacting from some other place, it's likely because you've got some old woundings that you need to look at, and that's really at the bottom of it. Communication issues are one of them, relationship issues, those kinds of things are generally where Chiron's going to rear its head. So, watch for synchronicities today, though, because they could happen, and it could impact, how you heal, old wounds, basically. You might see some opportunities that are happening that is telling you, yeah, the time is right to do this now. So, Sun's still in the 12th house in Aquarius. Again, your innovative, extroverted side may be at odds with self-reflection. Mercury, 12th house Aquarius also. Again, unique ideas, inventive, rebelling against tradition, inner reflection. But the Sesca square with the North Node, you're going to want to stop and think before moving on to new things. Meditation might help with that, but just going in and being absolutely certain that that's what you really want to do. Make sure it's sometimes the North Node is about the future, the South Node is about the past and karma and all of that. But so they're directional in that respect. So anything to do with the North Node, it's about your present or your future. So if it's saying to stop and think before for choosing a new path, well, maybe you should. It's probably alerting you to something that could happen if you don't. But now Venus, also, again, still first house Pisces, still square Mars, so patience may be lacking. But here we have conjunct between Venus and Neptune. Again, still, are we looking at life realistically? But that's been the case pretty much for the last few days. But here, and again, I think that this sort of aligns with the Sesca square between Mercury and the North Node. We're to take a self-healing focus today. So again, be sure, the whole Chiron business is, taken care of here, and understand that it's there just to teach you, teach all of us. Mars still in the ninth house and Sagittarius, but again, still Sesca square Uranus. Impulsivity is strong. Don't react. Stay focused. Again, Sesca square, that's going to align with Mercury, Sesca square North Node, because again, we're supposed to stop and think before moving on to new things. But here we have another Neptune interaction. Mars is square Neptune. Again, you might want to feel like escaping, and when you do that, is to take time to reflect. This really is you're kind of at odds right now between reflection and action. But just think about it this way: reflection before action, and maybe that'll be the way to think about this today. Jupiter's in the same place, so Saturn. There was something though. Uranus, second house Taurus. Income could be in flux today, and you might be open to taking risks. However, remember the issue with Mercury, or rather Mars, Venus, not Mercury. Well, yeah, semi-square the North Node. Stop and think before moving on, to new things. It could be that could be synchronicity there. So again, we're supposed to be paying attention to that. There's just some alignments here, like with Neptune and whatnot that seem to be maybe in synchronicity with one another. And I'm just saying, pay attention to it. Semi-square Neptune and Uranus. Deception may be high today, either from yourself or from others. This could have to do more with the, it says avoid major decisions without great reflection. That's what I put down. Again, think about things before you do them, because there could be great impact. Now, that could have more to do with what's happening right now in the Senate, and the questions that are being asked by senators today. It's an odd setup, isn't it? We have the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court who's fundamentally useless there. We could have some guy off the street, right, come in and sit there for all this guy has done, all right, to keep things, the way they should. He's watched as people have left and not come back for a long, long time, hours. Where are they? They're not going to the bathroom. Where are they? Supposed to be there. Right? He's doing nothing. So I don't know. This may have to do with that. It is just a cautionary tale that these guys are going to have to think about. This is a serious situation that's happening. The House proved its case. That's why they impeached him. Senate needs to follow suit. As to whether they will, don't know yet. Pendulum is changing on that, so I don't know. Right now, it's just going in a circle. So it's like, okay. When it does that, it just means that people are thinking and they haven't made their minds up yet. I've had times where, for a long, long time, it was no. Then all of a sudden, one day it was yes, and it was that way for several weeks. And now we're back to the spinning around in a circle. So I don't know. We'll see. That things are not fixed in stone, carved in stone with them right now, that seems to be true. So I don't know. I think that whatever, whether this is applying to them or whether it's applying to something, that's been weighing heavily in our lives personally, I think that right now, if we just stop and wait and observe and take a moment before we make decisions, I think things will go much better. So in any event, let's see what the cards have to say, though. Because lately they've been really following the astrology and everything that's been going on. It's kind of been spooky. So anyway, let's go ahead and take the first 3 cards. We'll see if that's all we need. If we need another one, we will. And then we'll take the rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll create a geomancy rune to close out. So I think that's it then on the astrology. I don't think we need to talk anymore about that. But I like to begin with it because it sort of sets the tone for everything else, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. I will take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. And so here we go. Well, we have the Page of Swords. Yesterday we had the Page of Cups. Pages are about, again, a page could be up there today in the chamber, holding court, for all that's worth. Pages are about undeveloped potential. This is also when you see the Page of Swords, you're thinking new message, news bearer. So, okay. I guess they're not going to let Lev watch the hearing because of something to do with his ankle bracelet. My husband just stuck his head in here a little bit ago and told me that. So let Lev speak. Call Lev as a witness. That little guy seems to know everything. So anyway, who knows? Maybe they'll let Lev speak. Dude tapes everything. If he doesn't, the other guy does. Who'd have thunk it, right? Let's do the next card. Ace of Wands. New expression of will. It's kind of interesting that we have the numerology for the day that we have. Well, for the whole thing, the entire day, a 1 you don't reduce. The 11, the 29 reduces to 11, and you leave it there because it's a master number. And 22 is the cosmic builder, and you leave that alone. So for the year, 2020 is 22. And so you're really looking at the soul coming in today and trying to guide this whole process of what's going on today for us. So hopefully that will apply to what's going on in our government. Hopefully that we just start, listening to the truth now and then making the decision they need to make. It's simple, really. Don't be afraid of it. I'm sorry the guy's done bad things, but he has. That's not your fault. He did them. Well, it kind of is because you didn't stop him. So yeah, I guess it is kind of your fault, isn't it? But your constituents will deal with you as they want to, and that'll just be what happens in November. So we have the 9 of Cups. We had this recently. Was it yesterday or day before? Might have been Monday. Yeah, beginnings and endings. Yeah, that was right. So here we have the emotional fulfillment. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him in the middle here, and I'm going to look at, because if you think about this, and we talked about this the other day, the ace is similar to the fool in terms of undeveloped potential. It could also be thought to be similar to the magician, where you have the beginnings of something alchemical, happening. But it would probably, but because I would say then because the magician then, well, the magician could hold all of the aces. We'll say it that way. So you could think of it that way, because when you see the magician, you see all of the tools on the table, right? Well, they're reflective of air, fire, water, and earth. Okay, and so with the Ace of Wands, you're talking about the fire element and the beginnings of will or creativity or new manifestation. When you're talking about the Page of Swords, you're talking about the air element and intellect. And again, the page begins the group of the court cards, right? That's the beginning of it. That's undeveloped potential. This is also undeveloped potential for emotional fulfillment. Okay, so that's how we're going to do this today. We're gonna have the 9 be the significator. So we'll start with him. Here we have a man, could be the king. It looks like he's in his dressing gown, sitting on a bench. His arms are crossed. Man's spreading, as the term is. All 9 of his chalices are up above there on a, type of wall or something. Looks like it's covered in a nice gray drape. We see yellow in the upper and lower areas of the card. So basically, what we have here is a sense of completion with the 9, a sense of endings, like he has, achieved something here. So he's achieved emotional fulfillment. His arms are not crossed. He's smiling, so they're not crossed in a defensive position, other than maybe, see what I did? I'm happy now. I've brought myself into such emotional fulfillment that, how I see everything is in alignment, because the cups are all aligned, excuse me, so emotions are all in alignment with one another. There's nothing that's, arguing with each other at all. It's just complete bliss that this man is in. So how did he get that way? He got that way because of the new beginnings he took. So we'll start with this Page of Swords. Pages again are about, they could be students, they could be a new message, something new, undeveloped potential. Depending on who it's paired with, it could signal a pregnancy or a birth, a new message, new direction. Here we have a new message and a new direction contained within the Page of Swords. You see over here, you see wind having its effect on the tree. So there's swift action going, or swift movement going on today. Things are unfolding quickly. The clouds of deception are parting as a new message is heard. And then we know what we need to do. Hand reaches out from the cloud. Familiar theme in tarot happens in many of these cards, where perhaps born of ego, because you can see the cards are kind of dark, or not the cards, the clouds are kind of dark. And so on the more whitish ones, I interpret that as coming from spirit, but when it's darker, you're not so sure. That's the thing with the fire element. Depending on which way it goes, it can either warm you. In other words, it can do something positive for you. It can light your path. It can protect you, or it can get out of control and destroy everything. So depending, what this is about, it's either going to be a new form of deception, or we're going to manifest something else out of the ego, out of the deception, that's vital and necessary and taking us in a better path. But on the other hand, I suppose it depends on where you derive your emotional fulfillment. Now, in theory, this is a positive card. I want to do one more card. Because if you lie, you might just manifest something for yourself, right? But you're not really going to manifest for other people. Well, unless, your supporters perhaps. But are they really supporting the right person, you see? Do you want to support somebody that deceives? Do you want to be that person who is deceived and now here you are, happy as a clam, or at least you think you are, surrounded, by whatever emotionally fulfills you. But see, that could be anything. Now, if we want to read this, though, from the standpoint of spirit, then something new is coming. And we're going to hear something new today. And it's going to allow us to make a decision or to manifest something else that leads us toward emotional fulfillment. But let's see. Knight of Swords, again, swift action, swift information, protection. Who are they trying to protect? Let's do another card. I'm bothered by the fact that this can be read both ways. This can be read, it just depends on where you find your emotional fulfillment. Do you find it in conning other people? That's the part that's bothering me here. Now, who is the knight protecting? Is it going to protect fundamental truth, or is it going to protect the lie? Let's do one more card. Justice. The 11th card of the Major Arcana aligning with today. Now we know the direction. This is the first time I've done 5 cards in a reading on here. Cool. I'm going to put the cards back there before I'm tempted to do another one. Okay. So I think that we've resolved then my concern over how we find this, because we're going to find it in justice. So with luck today, then, whatever's going on in our lives here, something new is about to happen. We're going to learn some new things. Because of that, we're going to be able to manifest something new that's going to assist us in achieving emotional fulfillment. Whatever is happening information-wise is going to come quickly. Given the Knight of Swords, that indicates swift movement. Because he's going in reverse here toward the past. I read that as preserving your present and also gaining information about the past. But it's involved in that time frame. It's not involved in the future. If he was headed in the other direction, then we'd talk about it that way. But something from the past will be revealed today. It's going to happen quickly. That's going to then inform your ability to manifest something new and to achieve more emotional fulfillment. It's going to be based on justice. So, maybe a legal decision in your favor if something like that is going on, or, maybe you're going to get a new position, or some truth. Maybe you've been, struggling with something of late, some conflict where you just haven't been sure. But today you're going to become more sure about things, and justice and fairness and balance is going to return. Tiwaz, the spiritual warrior within. 17th rune or 18th rune? Let me look. 17th rune of the Elder Futhark. So an 8 energy, you're talking the God Tyr here, or the spiritual warrior within, speaking truth to power. Wow. Exciting reading. I have to do the geomancy now because, I don't know. I might actually write this one up on the blog. Or I may, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is good, though. Sometimes you just get these, don't you? And you just don't know. All right, so we have a single dot for fire. Where's air? 2 dots for, what do we have here? Is it a missio? Yeah. Okay, we're going to experience a loss today. Now, I'll draw this out for you. And when I do that, I think I'll also do Tiwaz first. Well, let me do I'll just show you the geomancy rune. Now, loss can mean several things. It can mean, loss where you're upset, but clearly we're not, what we're losing today, generally speaking, I always hope that the geomancy rune can be something other than an outlier of just something to keep in mind. Typically, it tends to get at the heart of things. So if we've had to make a new decision because new information is coming in and it's about justice and now we're fulfilled, there's a loss of whatever, maybe there's a loss of any further deception. Whatever was keeping us from moving forward, we're seeing an ending to that. And so you can look at this in terms of simply directionality and that type of a loss. So so that's when I look at a missio, that's how I see it today. Maybe the forces of deception that are at work cannot overcome the spiritual warrior within, and that people are going to do the right thing, hopefully, you know. But let's look at Tiwaz real quick here, and I'll just use this one because it's bigger. We have, here's Tiwaz, it's just narrow. But what we have and what informs it, we have Isa, which is the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. Again, we have an 11-day alignment and source presence. And then we have Kenaz, which I didn't draw very well. I just drew the whole thing all over again. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to explode it. I'll do it there. We have the light of spirit informing our illumination. Kenaz is the torch. It's also thought of as the light of spirit. Typically it's drawn this way. But directionality matters in runes. And so here, you know, it's just you can easily see how how we come up with the spiritual warrior within. Because spirit is informing our alignment, isn't it? So yeah, I think that what we're talking about here today is something's going to come into focus for us. We're going to get some new information, whatever this has to do with, whether it's what's going on, you know, in our country or whether it's going on in our personal lives. Something is going to come into balance, whether justice is talking about balance or some kind of equanimity or a legal decision, you know, or something you've been waiting for to come up to go your way or to achieve in your favor, maybe. But again, it's going to lead to your emotional fulfillment, a sense of endings or completion, where things are going to come together for you today emotionally, and things are going to settle out. You know, if you've been going down a path that's based on deception, again, today things may just come into focus, and you just may come to the realization, you know what, I got to let that go. You know, and so again, you know, we also have a day of reflection today in the astrology. Let's see, I'll go over that one more time. The moon conjunct Chiron, it can be a day for healing old wounds and letting them go. Now, excuse me, that could also be what's involved in a missio, letting go of that which no longer serves. Losing that. You see the idea of loss, how that works there. It's not necessarily that you've lost something or that you're all emotional about it or something. It could be that you're just getting at, you know, you're finding things out now. Again, Mercury sesquisquare the North Node, stop and think before moving on, though. There needs to be reflection, okay? We don't want to be impulsive about anything today. We simply want to take the time to think about things and to let go of that which no longer serves us. We need to move into justice and to truth and to balance and honor and dignity, all of that. So again, one other thing I wanted to mention, again, Gaiam's 20% off sale for, you know, balance and yoga. Well, it's on the yoga mats and meditation supplies is what their 20% off sales on today. It's through the 30th. I was going to tell you that. I double checked. I do have that underneath the video though, so at least it's there. Let's see. I added also a couple new companies. If you're into mala beads, I am. I just think they're very cool. I make them, you know, but anyway. I also buy them. But a company called Tiny Devotions, it's very cool. And then another one is called Gothic, GTHIC. So there's no zero or no O, not a zero. But anyway, for very cool jewelry, badass jewelry, it's called. For bikers, but let me tell you something, folks. It's also for pagans and witches. So if you're of that persuasion, go there, click the link, buy something. It's got such cool stuff. There's Odin stuff. There's Rune stuff. I mean, they do pendants and rings and bracelets, and it's very Asatru oriented. And so if you're into that, like I am, I work room magic, so of course I'm going to be into this. I saw this, I went, what's that? And so I clicked and I went and I looked and I applied, right? So I'm an affiliate for them, and just got them just yesterday or day before or something. Anyway, I did their landing page on the blog, so if you want to go over to the blog, and if you go under affiliates, and I have them in groups, right? And so the Tiny Devotions is going to be up there. I think in the wellness area where Indie Odyssey and places like that are. But then at the bottom, there's a section for retail and just the general stuff. And so Boggs boots are in there because I love Boggs boots. I have them. So does my husband. They're just awesome. So what I've been doing when I've been expanding the affiliate thing, I've been trying to get stuff that I'm interested in or stuff that I actually purchase their products. And so anyway, so I actually know what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's where I put Gothic, and so go there and you can read what I wrote. You can see some of the jewelry. I put some of that up there and everything. So, but click on the link and go there, and just if you're like me, you'll just be entranced by what you see. You're like, oh my God, look at that. So, I also own a Harley. So what am I going to do? It sort of fit me every possible way. So anyway, actually we own two Harleys, but my husband used to work on them. So. Anyhow, there you go. That's it for today, I guess. We're right around half an hour here, so that's pretty good. But anyway, check all that stuff out below the video and come back tomorrow, and we'll see how much more trouble we can cause. And, it'll be Thursday, so it'll be to carry you through the rest of the weekend. So anyway, I guess that's it. Thanks so much for coming by. Come back tomorrow. Click subscribe. Check out the blog. There's a Patreon page you can sign up on it for a tier if you'd like to do that. That's there. Also, the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. Very cool thing. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.